Good afternoon, Patriots. And welcome to a special edition of Occam's Razor. As always, I'm your host, RP. And joining me live in the studio is my co-host, M3. Is the volume good? Oh, you guys. Score one for the Patriots. Ghislaine Maxwell has been arrested, taken into custody by federal authorities in New Hampshire. We've got a lot to talk about. Hope you guys are ready. So many Patriots from across the globe, almost 1,700 people here. Do me a favor, guys. Don't forget to like and share this broadcast. Help us break through the algorithm. We're going to be going through some posts, talking about the actual story itself. We've got some clips from the press conference put on by the SDNY earlier today. Several other stories. You're not going to want to miss it. That's right, there are no coincidences. Not in our world. Please, everyone, do sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. When you see what's going on in our country right now, there are plenty of reasons to be concerned. Social unrest is making life very uncomfortable, and it could quickly get worse. On top of that, a second wave of CV-19 through the Dem agenda is threatening to devastate our economy and our way of life. Are we going to have severe food shortages this time? Will supply chains get cut off if people can't work? What if we can't go to the grocery store anymore? Well, these are realistic dangers, so don't let yourself be unprepared. Here's what to do right now. Go to preparewithredpill78.com and start building your emergency food supply. The experts at My Patriot Supply are the only people I use and trust, and you can too. And right now you can save $100 off a full 4-week supply of delicious, nutritious meals the whole family will love. My Patriot Supply makes it easy to be prepared at all times, and saving $100 off a life-saving 4-week supply of food is too good an opportunity to pass up, because the second half of 2020 is going to be wild. Go to preparewithredpill78.com and get ready now. That's preparewithredpill78.com. Do it now, because when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. Welcome back, everyone. And once again, please join me in welcoming to the show my co-host and good friend, Methods. What is up, brother?
Man, you know, a little bit's going on this morning.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, kind of excited, just like everybody else. I enjoy days like this, man. We all get to kind of have that victory moment and get to discuss what this could, mean. Great show for it, being Occam's Razor. We get to talk about all the different ways this can play out. So, yeah, I'm excited. I hope everybody out in the chat's having a good time.
Good stuff. Somebody in the chat just said, Maxwell arrested. Was this the first arrest? Methods, this is actually the first thing I was planning on bringing up with you. Because, of course, we've been told in the past that the first arrest was going to shock the world. I think if you think about it in a certain way, this arrest certainly will shock the world. Certainly the world of the deep state, the world of all of the co-conspirators who were named in the original Jeffrey Epstein indictment, and I'm sure will be named in further soon-to-be-released indictments as a result of all this. I mean, we were talking about all of the implications of this. The arrest of Ghislaine Maxwell truly is a shock to the system, and I think that what it's going to lead to is sort of a domino effect, because there are so many people who are connected. Ghislaine was not only the procurement apparatus for Jeffrey, but she has strong ties to many rich and powerful people who are certainly at the top of this cabal pyramid.
I totally agree with you on that. Now, as far as this being the major one that shocks the world, we always kind of assumed it had to do with the Spygate stuff, all the Russia stuff. Maybe that we still have that big moment coming, but this is, like you said, a big arrest because of who she's connected to, what she would know. If she's singing, you know, and just naming all these people to kind of protect herself in a certain way, then imagine who, because if you have her as the witness, the one that's like pointing the blame on certain people or saying who was involved, especially since we've already got a lot of the evidence and stuff, because they did ransack all his places and the allegedness of finding, you know, CDs and, you know, all this hard drive material. I don't know, man. It could be huge. It's definitely going to be a lot of people freaking out right now, especially Prince Andrew.
Yeah, Prince Andrew, one of the Rothschilds, President Bill Clinton. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, we were talking earlier about the possibility of, you know, the umbrella surveillance. I have to imagine that Epstein himself was under FISA before he died. And I would think that Ghislaine probably was as well. And there's all kinds of reasons why they didn't go after her right away back then. I mean, first of all, I think the biggest reason is was the presence of Jeffrey Berman. I mean, he was sitting on all of these gigantic bombshells for so long, the last couple of years, not doing any progress on any of them. Meanwhile, he's shutting down the Trump Foundation. He's going after President Trump in a number of different ways. And now, as soon as he's gone, we've got probably the movement on the second largest case in the history of the United States, simply because of her proximity to Jeffrey and the entire situation.
Right. She would know way more because she handled a lot of stuff going on. And if you listen to the presser earlier, and I suggest everybody should because they lay it out pretty well, you know, she was involved in it. She wasn't just helping him get people. She had a personal, I guess we'll use the word, vice and being involved in all this stuff. So she would know. And this is, you know, the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Epstein, because we understand what he was doing internationally. You know, he was highly tied to the education system, highly tied to, you know, the tech
science
companies. Yeah. Silicon Valley, all that stuff. So I imagine like she has a lot, not leverage to get herself, you know, scot-free, because she's so pinned to the wall with what they've accused her. If they have the evidence, they wouldn't be coming out and saying it so boldly. It's going to take down a lot of people. And like our buddy Thomas from True Reporting said in the chat that the SDNY is wide open now. And what you just brought up, it's definitely a big point, because Berman was a lot more focused on attacking Trump and his inner circle. You know, he went after Cohen. He went after Giuliani's people, the two people that got charged that were connected to him. He was always focused on that. And when Berman was going out the door, he was told that the investigations into Trump were still going to go on, and that is what made him be comfortable about it, quote unquote, to, you know, allowed to step down without putting up even more of a fight. Well, you see, obviously, this Strauss is, I think, her name, Strauss, the acting is definitely going to play ball, because she would have known about this stuff too. And I imagine they came to her and said, all right, you're either going to do your job or you're about to get blacklisted. You know, you better play ball. So this is going to be interesting, because it gets into the SDNY. How quickly did this happen? This is less than 2 weeks after Berman, you know, steps down. So it kind of shows that they were ready to move on a lot of stuff, and just getting Berman out of the way is the same thing like getting Coates out of the way. You know, they got Coates out of the way. As soon as Grinnell got in, things moved very quickly. So I imagine we're going to have that on a lot of the things that, you know, our favorite Anon pointed to, and anything else going on through SDNY, because they're going to be able to, you know, really blow this up. And it's definitely exciting, man.
Yeah, what happens if in a couple of days or in a week we get a major arrest on the Anthony Weiner laptop? I mean, that would absolutely be the icing on the cake here. Pardon me. First of all, I just want to say hello to a couple people. First of all, Thomas from True Reporting is in the chat. That's awesome. We got Space Shot 76 in the audience as well. I saw Craig Mason's Reasonable Conversation channel. Saw my mod Fred Prevo. Haven't seen you for a while, Fred. Good to see you. Wheezy Girl, Jojo. I know Real Red Pill Mom is here. And I don't know who other moms. Leslie Berger is also here. Any mods who are in the chat, drop a comment. I will go ahead and and say hello to you. And I need to give a really, really special thank you to Rebecca and Todd and the family. They sent me a donation to help out with Muffin's vet bill from a couple of weeks ago, and I cannot thank you guys enough. I hope that you're watching, and I hope that that you appreciate my thanks to you. Also, I want to say thank you to the official Popeye fan club as well. Here is that coffee mug that they sent me. It is beautiful, and it has the original Popeye drawing from 1929. Very, very cool. Now, in case you didn't know, Chester, Illinois is the birthplace of Popeye the Sailor Man. So head on over there if you want to see some Popeye memorabilia.
But yeah, and to anybody saying this, I see it in the chat. I'm not calling people out. I've seen it everywhere else. That they're saying like nothing's going to come of this. They need to protect Maxwell and all these things. I agree with you. And also I see a lot of things and legitimate concerns about what would be the counterattack to this, the FF word that we're not supposed to really say here. We should expect that in any time there's a win on our side, and that's why we pray. That's why we're vigilant. That's why we have an apparatus around the world paying attention to things, calling stuff out. I agree with you on that, but also don't take this win and appreciate it, because it implicates so many different things that can happen. Because they even brought up Prince Andrew in the presser. They got asked about it, and they said that they would welcome him coming and giving a statement. But the way it was kind of said was like, we're going to, allow you to come first, but if not, we're going to go a different way. This isn't the end of it. And they also put out the 1-800, call FBI. So if anybody now that has been, I'll just use the word abused by what we're talking about here, because Maxwell will basically be the whipping boy, quote unquote, for what Epstein did. So anything that Epstein did, even if it was outside of Ghislaine being tied to it, people are going to be calling in, and this is going to be an avalanche of people, because it kept going on, and it went on for years. And I will make this point as well, is that they're specifically calling out 1994 to 1997. Let me ask the audience here, who was president during that time?
One guess.
Right. I'm sure plenty of you guys will get it. So that's very curious to me, because that does apply. Okay, which famous wedding was Ghislaine Maxwell at? With the pictures.
Yep.
We have that situation too. It does implicate a lot of different things, and I'm just excited to see where it goes, because you got to have this. And I really think that this happening during this time is a great counter argument attack that we're going through with this election. Because who else is implicated in this? Who else is connected? Who helped Epstein get away with all this stuff? And I imagine that they, are probably connected to Democrats. So having all these things come out during this time does help the case for Trump. And it also, as you see, as everybody was excited today, think about the energy that we can feel for, any platform you get on, everybody's excited. That's the kind of energy we need going into the biggest fight of an election in our lifetime, if not longer. So I was completely re-energized hearing that news this morning. Now, I also just want to call attention to the fact that yet again, the public corruption unit is involved in Ghislaine Maxwell's case. The same public corruption unit at the SDNY that was involved in Jeffrey Epstein's case. Remember, public corruption deals with crimes committed by elected officials. That means that unequivocally there must be elected officials involved with this case. And now that Maxwell has been arrested, I think it's only a matter of time before we see these people being brought down. Now, I have to believe that the DOJ has learned from their mistake of what happened with Jeffrey, okay? I see so many people saying that Ghislaine Maxwell didn't kill herself. It's a great joke. But if they allow her to end up in the same circumstances as Jeffrey, then it's going to be just the largest travesty of justice that has ever been perpetrated upon the American public. I cannot believe that would happen a second time. There's just absolutely no way. I also saw Smurf Turtle 6 in the chat saying that Space Shot and I are CIA. Our numbers are evil, and then claim that they are CIA. I want to unequivocally go on the record right now and say that I am not, nor have I ever been, an employee of the clowns in America. And you can take that to the bank. Yeah, that's what a clown would say, red pill. But that's fine. But a good point that I see out here once again from our buddy Thomas. He says, how will the MSM rebuttal this? Well, we've kind of already seen them grasping at straws because they're pushing around that picture of Ghislaine with Trump back in the day, and they're going to try to do the same thing that when Epstein was arrested. Yep. So, but that's really all they're going to have.
Yep. One picture.
Wasn't right. Yeah, they're going to push that direction completely. But imagine, Bill Clinton was flying on the plane during those times. Playing Hillary too, and Hillary and them after they got out of office went and stayed at the ranch in New Mexico. Mm-hmm. There's a lot in
Methods, are you there? Methods? Can you guys hear me? Methods, I lost your audio. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. All right, guys, hold on. We have some technical difficulties. We've lost audio from Methods, and it looks like Zoom has completely locked up. So please, cover blown. Yeah, right. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so you can hear me. Good. That's good to know. I'm going to go ahead and get Zoom restarted, and we will get Methods back on the line, you guys. End of their meeting. Okay. Okay. Man, of course they're going to crash Zoom on me in the middle of that conversation. Okay. Invite, copy, and let's get Methods back in here. All right. Oh, I also want to say hi to Whitehat. I see Whitehat's in the chat as well. Hey, buddy. Thanks for being here. New call Methods. Okay. All right. So he'll be here in a moment. He's already here. Look at that. Methods, are you there?
Mic check 1 2.
All right. Sweet.
1 2.
So yeah, of course they're going to lock up Zoom in the middle of that conversation. I don't remember at what point you were at, but you were talking about.
No, I know where I was at for the most part. I mean, we do have to be, concerned about what would happen to Maxwell. They would have to be the protections around her. I hope that they don't put her in the same. I heard she might be be put in the same facility as Epstein, but you know how that goes with all these rumors and stuff. But we had also heard that. Wasn't it the FBI, they said, or somebody had been protecting her? There was rumors and reports that over the...
So somebody in the chat said that she was under MP guard, military police.
So why would they be doing that unless there was A, timing was everything, and B, she was, she's cooperating.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that would be my guess on it. And to me, there's probably been way more work done with her behind the scenes because we almost didn't forget about her, but the media definitely did.
No.
So what's been going on for the last several months, and what has she been saying?
Yeah. Also, guys, I just want to say that PayPal has unlocked my account. Apparently, they believe me that I'm an actual person now. So, mods, if you guys want to share that again, it is safe. But I just want to say that I do prefer the Cash App because there are no fees between, transferring money between people. Now, I want to go over the indictment itself. Okay. Because if I'm not mistaken, this is by and large the same charges that were leveled against Jeffrey in the original indictment. But number one, conspiracy to entice minors to engage in illegal, intimate acts, we'll say. Conspiracy to transport minors to engage in those same illegal acts. And the transportation of a minor to engage in illegal acts. Now, this is something that's very important to note because you'll see that when people try to downplay charges like this, they will say, underage women, okay, which to me is an offensive term because there's no such thing as an underage woman. There's a child and there's a woman. It's a legal definition. Either they're a grown-up or they're not. And this is very clearly pointing to the trafficking of children, all right? So just think about this, because she is one of a handful of very wealthy people across the world, as Jeffrey was. So now I would imagine that the assets she holds would be set for forfeiture based upon her actions in an illegal transnational criminal organization, as President Trump said in the executive order that he signed like almost as soon as he came into office. So that's going to be a big win. Now, there are inevitably additional people who are going to be named as a result of Ghislaine being indicted. I know for a fact they are going to keep a careful watch over her, because she is going to be the doorway to so much more. This is going to inevitably lead to additional arrests. And when you look outside, what is it? It's summer. It's hot. It's basically the hottest point of summer. It's going to get hotter from here on out. I can't wait to see what else comes after this. This is going to be really, really sweet.
I totally agree with you. Just real quick, to that point of, they're calling them underage women. Fox News is calling Ghislaine Epstein's friend and leaving it at that, which we know obviously it was more than that. And we've got mods in the chat asking for you to slow it down a little bit more.
I will. Thanks, guys.
And I'm seeing this headline now. We don't have it in our notes. Maybe you can cover it in your show later.
Yeah.
Supreme Court's hearing they're having a hearing for the arguments on releasing Mueller's documents that the Democrats have been wanting to get.
Okay.
And this would be pushing it, if it goes in our favor, if that's what Trump wants, then it would be 2021 before they can even get their hands on it. So just giving everybody a heads up on what I'm seeing in real time.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Bill Clinton, I think, is going to be directly connected to all of this. There are so many shady things that happened under Bill Clinton. I mean, the list is practically endless. And, I would think that Bill Clinton had something to do with making sure that Jeff and Ghislaine were set up with some level of protection and making sure that they were running their routes. I mean, he was clearly directly involved. What did he have, like 28 trips to the island? Something like that?
26, and then Hillary. I know the check, and I know her. She was like maybe 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
I can't really remember, but I remember the infamous 26 with Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point on that, there would be protections on such a level for Epstein to be able to do what he was doing during this time. And that's why I'm glad they're revisiting it. Because just like as we get more about the Spygate stuff coming out, and the big point we have to drive home is Obama was president. Right. Biden was vice president. This happened under their watch. Well, then you could do the same thing with this and Bill Clinton. And we've got to drive that point home. I try not to tell everybody what to do, but as this stuff comes out, we have to point who was president, and the president happened to be friends with him and traveled with him and went to the island. And as these accusations come out, we got to make sure that we bring out back everything that connects it and tie it to them, because that's what the left's going to try to do with Trump. They're already trying it.
Mm-hmm.
We have way more stuff that we can drop, on this situation, and we will. I'm very confident, even without having to say anything, it would have happened. But no, we're definitely going to drive all this home. It's got to. What's up?
That guy Smurf Turtle 6 says that Ghislaine is in here. Run! You're killing me, dude.
Right. Yeah, sometimes I'll read the chat. I can't read those things publicly, but you guys are great out there.
Oh, man. All right, so I'll be going over the indictment in detail at 6 o'clock, so make sure you tune in for that. Hey, Chi-Chi just showed up. And then also, Method's got some great footage from the actual press conference. We're going to be going over that directly at 6. Now, to back up the point that I made earlier about the Public Corruption Unit, Methods also found this tweet from Eli Honig. Now, what's kind of cool about this is that he's a CNN legal analyst, and he tweets about the fact that the Public Corruption Unit is involved. He says, SDNY just announced the Ghislaine Maxwell case. Like the original Jeffrey Epstein case, it's staffed by the Public Corruption Unit. I worked at SDNY and did trafficking cases. They do not run out of public corruption unless there is some potential angle against a public official. So considering the fact that they got all of the blackmail evidence from the original raid on the brownstone in New York for Jeffrey, and now they're continuing to run the investigation out of the Public Corruption Office, it is just a surefire bet that we're going to see current and past elected officials brought into this investigation. It is going to be massive, you guys. I cannot wait to see this.
Now, real quick before you move on from that, let's remind everybody there's been a lot of discussion. On this channel, we like to bring up stuff that we hear that Epstein was tied to intel agencies. You know, the blackmail stuff and all that. So this being a public thing that you were just bringing up, makes sense. But also, we've got the narrative going on about Brennan and his Black Ops money, and Flynn was going to blow the whistle. You know what I mean? Like, there's these connections kind of happening. That maybe. I'm not trying to say it for sure, but we do need to definitely get to. And thank you, chat. I see the new drop happening, and it's tied to Epstein.
Yeah.
So if you want to go, do we want to go ahead and move on to those posts?
Yeah. We'll go ahead and do that. All right. So let's go back to, let's see. So first of the day, just the announcement of the Ghislaine arrest from the New York Post. It has happened. And then there is a link to post 4484 talking about the SDNY, the importance of the SDNY, what was under their jurisdiction, the Wiener evidence, the Clinton Foundation, the Jeffrey Epstein evidence, Ukraine. Focus on the above for now. Watch New York. Clearly, we just saw something big come out of New York as a result of this. And the guard refusing to step down, Jeffrey Berman, POTUS refusal to formally nominate. I believe that is because they needed to have this interim appointment in there so that she could do what she needed to do. The stakes are high. They will fight. Super Bowl puppy show. Then we had this article from Fox News about the feds arresting the ringleader in the Andrew Jackson statue.
Before you move on from that, buddy, bring up the Tron graphic.
Oh, perfect.
Because that ties to 4562. Tron, friend of the channel, if you're listening, what's up, bud? He put up a great graphic that kind of ties in what the post 4562 is. I'm dropping that link in the chat. Show him some love. He definitely works hard making those connections. When we're all over here discussing what happened in the post or anything that drops like that, he's over here making these graphics that are easy to share. Mm-hmm. So we definitely appreciate that from him.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you can see here he's got post 4484, obviously SDNY, Southern District of New York, Epstein evidence, and now Ghislaine was just arrested on abuse and perjury charges. I forgot to mention the perjury charges because they questioned her previously. She denied having any participation in these events. Clearly, she was lying. They're going to get her on perjury. And then Trump fires U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Berman after he refuses to resign. Berman was a roadblock if there ever was one.
Right, and Debbie C out in the chat said, "Don't forget the Wiener laptop." Absolutely, and I wouldn't be surprised that, like we were saying earlier, some of these things start crossing a little bit because all these things were kind of going. We don't know, but regardless, that is SDNY, and I would absolutely love to see that become part of the conversation again because it needs to. It's been a little bit too long. It's going to be a lot of harsh truths, especially if they start releasing evidence for us to see. It is one of those things that you might have to depend on people like myself, Red Pill, and all the other people that you enjoy to follow to cover what's in it. Because I at least will look at just about anything if I need to report on it, even if it might put me in a bad mood for a little bit. But there are a lot of harsh truths that are going to be coming out in all this. We're not, they like to fancy it up with the things like underage women, but we're talking about things that are the most sinister evils of this world imaginable.
So the next post, the feds have arrested the ringleader of the people who tried to tear down Andrew Jackson's statue. And, of course, in the article, it says that the ringleader himself has ties to that mysterious black-clothed operation and organization known as Anti-Fae, we'll call it, Anti-Fae. So that is great news right there. They got him. I hope that they throw the book at him. Hopefully he gets at least 10 years in prison. His name is, let's see, hold on. Shoot, what is his name? I lost it. Well, got him.
Jason Charter.
Jason Charter. Okay. And then another man named Graham Lloyd. He turned himself in Portland for similar charges. So This is going to be good. This is going to be good. I want them to send a message to these people. You cannot tear down our statues, whitewash our history. Well, maybe blackwash our history.
Right.
You got to be so careful now. Did you hear the other day that there is a channel that is a chess channel? And because they were talking about the two sides against each other, the algorithm removed the video, thinking that they were talking about racial issues?
Yeah, I heard it, and it's just as ridiculous as anything else that's coming out. But I do appreciate our side's humor about it. The memes have been gold. And real quick, Teflon Don 45 in the chat, when we're referring to that group tearing down statues and all that, the Foot Clan bringing up Ninja Turtles, I totally agree with you. I've had that thought in my head a few times. Another nerd moment here. But no, I agree, because it is something that they are going out and doing things that further an agenda. That they are the pawns. We'll tie it back to chess. They are essentially the pawns to, further things that they want to accomplish.
All right. And then moving on to the next post, 4564. Perhaps some understood the significance of the music posted yesterday. How many of our brothers and sisters play this song prior to the LZ? Is that landing zone?
That's what I've seen from everybody else, and I haven't seen another one. It just reminds us of the call the ball. When it comes to landing the plane, there's been a lot of plane references, that our favorite Anons referred to. And then obviously Epstein's plane could be a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, landing zone is what I've gotten from most people that I, look up to.
Yeah. Now it continues. It's going to be a very hot summer. Add to your playlist. So keep it on your playlist, because we're going to continue to be seeing these arrests happen. It is happening, my friends. I am so stoked. This was a major win. I think we needed this. I think everybody here in the chat needed it. I was talking to Thomas before the show. He said the exact same thing. We needed a win. We needed something to happen, because a lot of people have just been suffering from battle fatigue. I do my best to stay as chipper as I possibly can, but it gets to everybody. We needed to get this win, and I just can't wait to see where it goes from here. Now, post 4565. Possible Epstein was a puppet, not the main person of interest. Obviously, very possible. Financed by who or what foreign entities? Now, remember, he had passports for both Israel and Saudi Arabia, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, that's how I remember it.
Yeah. Now, primary gather blackmail on elected politicians, dignitaries, royalty, Hollywood influencers, Wall Street, and other financial top-level players, other high-profile industry-specific people, etc. And then 2, feed an addiction, controllable. Maxwell family background, they were in media and the blackmail business. Robert Maxwell history, intel, agency, wealth, classified 1 through 99. It was speculated that he was an agent of the Israeli secret services, Mossad. Sometimes it's the people in the background that are of greater significance. So who do you guys think was controlling Jeffrey Epstein? Do you think there is an individual, or do you think that it was just the intelligence agency of another country? Here's the thing, is that I have heard speculated in the past that Saudi Arabia was actually established and operated as essentially a Muslim arm of the deep state within Israel. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, I've heard that, and then obvious ties about the Brotherhood itself being connected there as well. To me, if we're going to talk about intel agencies, at least connected here in the U.S., it's got to be Clown, right?
Clearly, clowns are involved. I mean, the deep state is not one single country. It's not one single intel agency. I would imagine that the worst of the worst, obviously clowns here in the United States, and then, each country's secret intelligence service, I think that they were probably all working together, with the goal of eventually getting us to that one world nation sovereignty, rather than individual nation sovereignty. So I think they were all working together. Here's the thing. I don't think Les Wexner was behind Epstein. I think that Wexner was actually controlled by Epstein. I think that he probably used Wexner to get a large infusion of cash early on, And then he controlled him until he was no longer with us. But I want to say that I do believe that there is a nation and an intel agency behind Jeffrey. And I think that Wexner was caught up in it because he was just a filthy old rich man.
I can jump on board with that. I mean, it could go either way with it. And I appreciate the chat bringing up Les Wexner. That would probably be a name I'd expect to show up in all of this mess with Maxwell, because he gave the New York home to him, or at least for very cheap, if I remember correctly.
I think sold to him for like $1 or something.
Right, just enough to get around all that tax mess. But yeah, having him and any other connections too, I'd definitely go down that road. If you guys are looking for things to research, I know a lot of people listening right now have dug on this. It's came up before, but look at the 1 degree connections and ties of Epstein, and you can pretty much, like we brought up earlier, big tech, the education system, all that stuff. There are these degree connections that you can make, and probably should at least be speculated publicly on, just so it creates a lot of noise and makes a lot of panic.
Yeah.
Because we have so many things that we can connect. There's already great graphics out there. So yeah, making these connections are going to be very, very important. And as names start to come up in all this, go ahead and just research the hell out of them, because we're going to need to help this like move forward in the public.
Yeah, I see people saying, MI6, they control Saudi Arabia. I'm sure MI6 is involved. I would just want to reiterate, I think that the secret intelligence services in most of the countries in the world probably all work together. There's different agencies that kind of align with like a sister agency in each of these countries. I'm sure MI6 is involved, and I'm sure that the royal family, I'm sure the Rothschilds, they are all involved in some degree. They're all a part of it, because this is the lifestyle of the rich and famous. Okay, as horrible as it may be, this is what they do, and this is how they control each other. I want to go back one more time to the excuse me, somebody sent me a message. I want to go back one more time to that book that I read called Secret Weapons. It's about the story of Cheryl and Lynn Hersha. They were sisters who were, I guess, victims of the MK Ultra program. Okay. And in that book, this was years ago I read this, they said that this was the tactic of the intel agencies. They take a young girl, and maybe, the person that they're trying to compromise knows their true age, or maybe they don't know their true age, and then they get the blackmail evidence, and then they confront them with it. Or better yet, they know, and this is what they want, and so they procure them this addiction, so then they can continue to control them forever. This has been going on for a long time, and no single country or people or intel agency have the monopoly on this disgusting practice. It is ubiquitous among the elite and the deep state. The deep state is a global apparatus, and it is many different countries, many different peoples, and it doesn't even exist solely within the government. This is a business, a public and private venture of these people all across the globe. Very, 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 very deep. The swamp is deep and vast.
Right. Absolutely. And I'm over here looking up real quick, because this might tie into it. What was the book that Ghislaine had at the In-N-Out Burger? I know that there's speculation about it being a Photoshop thing, but it was put out there and she didn't deny it. Yeah. But I remember it having to do with something to do with clowns or spies or something like that.
Yeah.
So, what was she trying to signal? All this stuff. And I am going to say this. I've flipped through a few channels and they are talking about this. I'm glad to see that they aren't sweeping this under the rug. They can't, because if you've got a bribery type situation where people have committed these crimes, and then they start getting freed because all these people, some people speculate that Ghislaine was Epstein's handler for all this stuff. I've seen that as well.
Yep.
If you've got that apparatus that's controlling them coming down, I wonder who else is going to talk, because they'll see the writing on the wall here. Now, depends on what kind of, I'll just use the word sin they were caught on camera doing or anything like that. We could speculate all the way, to where we feel like we need to go to church. But having this new world with Ghislaine going down, because now everybody's wondering, what is she saying? That's the biggest thing, because if they're like, oh man, she might sing on me, I might need to come forward, or we're going to get the suicide weekend. So to me, this is going to be a very interesting time. Watch who screams the loudest about this. Call it out, screen cap, archive, do whatever you got to do, because this news right here is big enough to where they can't avoid it. They're having to talk about it. So I'm definitely curious to see what people are going to be doing and reacting to this. Who goes quiet will be another one too. Has Hillary said a word about this? I hadn't seen anything before the show started.
I don't think so. I don't think she has, and I would be very surprised if she commented publicly. You know, it was one thing to get Jeffrey because everybody knew exactly what kind of a person he was. But Ghislaine has always maintained that she had nothing to do with it. She was always, you know, one step removed, but clearly with this indictment, it's pointing to the fact that the government has evidence that she was deeply involved. Now, you pointed earlier to the fact that it was only from those years in the late 1990s. And then, of course, as they said in the press conference, Ghislaine's case is the prelude to Jeffrey's case, which was from the early 2000s. But let's be honest. I mean, that's only one moment in time. You know, they could very easily bring charges from a different period in time and show that she was, you know, doing this exact same thing someplace else at another time. You know, or they could use those later years as a spot to make a case around other famous people. So there's a lot of information that's going to come out, man. I am so excited about it. You know, we've got over 7,000 people here, guys. Do me a favor. Don't forget to like and share the broadcast. I really appreciate it if you can support the channel in that way. It means a lot. The more eyes we get on this information, the more people we can potentially wake up. I think this is going to be a watershed moment. You know, I think that because of the type of person she is and the type of people she's connected to and the additional people that are going to be brought down as a result of her arrest in this trial and this case that's upcoming, I think that it really is going to open a lot of people's eyes. And, you know, in the Gateway Pundit, it was stated that she and Bill Clinton were reported as having dated in the past. Now, that would put their relationship like squarely in the middle of his marriage to Hillary Clinton. You know, and we already know Bill Clinton is not a faithful guy. We also know that Hillary pretty much puts up with whatever, you know, whatever he wants to do. They have an arrangement. Yeah, somebody says only if she lives. She is under the protection of military police. The DOJ, the federal government, they are fully aware of just how important Ghislaine Maxwell is. They are not going to allow her to be in the same position as Jeffrey and to be found Arkancided in a jail cell at the MCC. Just, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see this. We're going to see this probably blow up, because if they had enough evidence to make these accusations boldly, I mean, think about what those charges were directly. I won't repeat them for the sake of the show being allowed on air, but if they have, it would be almost ignorant to consider that they would just only have evidence on her. Yeah. They would have to have so much more, and they would be putting her in a corner to where she has to, you know, go about everything else. And if we want to believe the hearsay that she had been under protection for months, then we are getting into like what the chat's bringing up about Rico. You know, like there would be a lot of connections having to be made, how much further they go. And we also have to consider how quiet they have to be, because if we're getting into, you know, like princes being involved in these, you know, trafficking stuff, and, you know, different leaders and different governments and all those things, we could be toppling nations when it comes to, you know, we could be causing chaos if they want to go around and start arresting people. So it's got to be done correctly. I'm sure there's going to be a right way to go about it. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. And I'd also wonder what Virginia, what is her name? Guffrey?
Yeah, Giuffre.
Yeah. You know me, man. I'm just gonna say it.
I think we could go either way. Doesn't matter.
Right. I am very curious on what her reaction is to this.
I'm sure she's going to be a witness.
Right. But I mean, is she going to do a presser? Has she put anything out on Twitter? I haven't checked yet.
Yeah.
But I imagine if anything for her, she's probably breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief, because she would know what was going on and all that. And I imagine a lot of cases are going to be able to open up, because doesn't this tie into, you know, they were allowing cases, wasn't it last year around this time, maybe a little bit later, that there's no statute of limitations when it comes to these things.
Yeah.
And they were allowing anybody to file anything, and at least let it be investigated. So I think that was obviously not a coincidence as well.
Yeah, definitely no coincidences. No coincidences at all. All right. Somebody in the chat asked for my... Oops, that's not it. Somebody in the chat asked for my PayPal. Oh, crap. I just accidentally pasted instead of copying. Hang on. Let me get that put in here. And so I think this is an excellent time to go to the next bit of news, which was the bit of legislation that's coming up. The Senate panel is advancing a bill which targets online abuse against children of a particular manner. And this is being spearheaded by Lindsey Graham, of course, from the Senate Judiciary Committee. It's called the Eliminating Abuse and Rampant Neglect of Interactive Technologies. Now, what's interesting is that because of Section 230, certain things on platforms are essentially there's a gray zone. They can't go after Twitter because Twitter is protected by Section 230, but they're clearly hosting some terrible things. We've seen it all. Okay, I think many of us here have probably reported it, and we were told that it was protected speech, so they're not going to take it down. Well, what they're looking to do is amending Section 230 specifically for the protection of children so that they can go after online companies that host this egregious, exploitative content. This is a really big move. It's not going to do anything to endanger Section 230. The only thing it's going to do is make the companies that host this gratuitous, disgusting content liable for the hosting of that content. They're going to be liable for the exploitation of those children. It's an excellent, excellent move. I'm really happy about it.
Right. And I mean, right now, just to let everybody know, they're advancing this bill. So obviously there's more that needs to happen to implement it and stuff like that. But this does center around Section 230, which is something that we've all been kind of, screaming about, because that does protect them. They're allowed to get away with this stuff. They're allowed, comments and YouTube channels on children's YouTube channels and stuff that was going on. And they might quietly purge it and get rid of them, but that's just so rampant. Remember the whole thing that came out that certain types of people with vices were using combinations of hashtags that would open up tweets that otherwise we wouldn't know where to find. Yeah. And it was those kind of networks. Well, this would make the case to where those that, like Twitter, for example, would have to play ball. They would absolutely have to help with investigations. They would have to hand over all information, and they would have to cooperate. Yeah. Now, me and you speculated before the show, what if there are actual employees that are allowing this to happen and organizing it as such? That's where it gets even deeper, and it's going to hold them to account. And Section 230 is not just about Twitter. We're talking Facebook. We're talking about Google. We're talking about YouTube here.
We're talking about web forums, the whole shebang.
Right. They would not protect them on the publishing status anymore. So they can't hide behind those things and allow these things to go on. It forces them to play ball or, pack up shop, because they would all fall on their hands, because it would ultimately go up. And we can go ahead and segue into the next article here, Red Pill, because it does play into that to me as well. The report came out, and I will drop the link in the chat for you guys, that at the end of July sometime, I didn't catch the exact date, they are putting big tech side by side to have a hearing in front of the House Antitrust panel, because it's going to be Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Tim Cook, and Sundar Pichai. Is that how you say it? Yeah. They're putting all four of them side by side to answer questions about antitrust. Mm-hmm. So not only are they getting, I'll use the word target, dealt with when it comes to being publishers and the whole hiding behind 230, we're now getting into antitrust, which is their abuse of power. Mm-hmm. And putting them all side by side to answer these questions. And we still have waiting in the wings Barr referred to doing some kind of action in the next few weeks. So you can see this having to happen, because we're getting into the election time, because we already know that they probably want to take down Trump's Twitter. Mm-hmm. They want to delete all of our accounts across the board. Well, now they're in the hot seat and they're being watched. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be exciting. That'll be one I'll definitely watch. I hope it's live.
Yeah, I do too. And I think this is the first time that Bezos has agreed to testify before Congress. Now, I don't know if it's going to be a public testimony or if it's just going to be in a private session. I would certainly hope that it is a public testimony. But all of the evidence that we have gathered, that the federal government, the DOJ, has gathered since the last time all of these guys have come in and testified, it's going to make for a very interesting session. I think that there's arguably quite a bit of evidence to support the fact that at least Pkwy and Zuckerberg have lied during their previous, questionings at these panels in front of these committees. So I'm really looking forward to it. And just to show you guys how powerful these guys are, they have a combined net wealth of $5.5 trillion. $5.5 trillion. That is an incredible amount of money. I have no idea. If you were to, give each man, woman, and child in this country an equal amount of money, I have no idea how much it would be. But it would be an incredible amount. So I think it's very clear that due to their wealth, their power, their influence, they have been doing more than just censoring debate online. They've been doing more than stifling conservative voices. They have been using their wealth, power, and influence to steer the direction of conversation here in the United States, whether that's for, election reasons, whether that's for socioeconomic reasons, cultural reasons. I mean, these four guys, they basically own conversation here in the United States and to a large degree across the globe.
I agree with you on that. And I'm also looking at the list of who's on that committee because, we have to look forward to who's going to ask those right questions.
Yeah.
And we have on our side, we've got Jim Sensenbrenner from Wisconsin. We've got Matt Gaetz. So that'll be interesting. Whether you love him or hate him, I can appreciate the stuff he gets brought up during these times. And then obviously those kind of fiery moments go viral enough to where people are seeing the questions being asked and all that. We've got Ken Buck from Colorado, Kelly Armstrong from North Dakota, Greg Stubbe from Florida, and then leading it on the minority side is Doug Collins. So Doug Collins is going to be able to at least – now, obviously, he's going to be next to Gerald Nadler, so this will be a mess. But having Doug Collins being the ranking minority member is going to be very exciting because he's going to ask the straight, blunt, to-the-point questions. You got to love the Southern boys. He's going to ask it blunt and direct. So that's going to be interesting. We'll definitely keep you guys informed on that because we're going to watch it. We're going to cover it if we're allowed to. And we'll definitely let you know as more information comes out.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, Stony Joe says it's about $15,000 for every single person. Man, that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money that these guys control. The idea that they're going to be brought before Congress, they're going to be asked some of the same questions I would imagine they were asked before, and then they're going to be presented with the facts of the matter that have been brought out since the last time that they came in to testify. And then also, thinking about the investigation that the DOJ is doing into Google and Apple for antitrust, are they doing an antitrust investigation into Amazon as well?
I have to look back. I don't want to say and be wrong about it. I'll look it up real quick.
What's up, Charles Pixley? He says, unless they charge Bezos and his ilk with conspiring with his company, not charge the company, those people don't give a toss. Business as usual with slaps on the wrist that they write off on taxes. You very well could be right. But we're going to have to see. I mean, unfortunately, that's the way the law is written here in this country, that corporations are held accountable in certain instances and not individuals. But I think we all know that these people individually have more than likely committed crimes. I want to withhold judgment, see what happens, see how this plays out. But, when it comes down to it, policy at these various companies is made somewhere. I mean, it's happening, from the top down. So these guys are setting the stage and the culture for their employees at all these companies. So they're getting direction from somewhere. We're going to have to wait and see how it works.
Real quick to your point,
yeah.
Amazon's facing antitrust charges from the European Union.
Okay.
They're already dealing with it in that direction, and Amazon will be represented at this committee. So they're tied up in all this.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me see. All right. So we've also got this tweet from Molly Hemingway, who I was surprised to know is the wife of Devin Nunes. I did not know that she was the wife of Devin Nunes. I saw him talk about it on Parler the other day. But Adam Schiff is out talking once again about Russia. He's trying to bring up again this bounty idea that the Russians were trying to place bounties on American heads with soldiers in AQ in the Middle East. Now, he said that he and his top aides were briefed on the bounty suspicions in February in Afghanistan. Schiff didn't think it was significant enough to alert colleagues on Intel Committee, held no hearings, told no one, did nothing. What is the structure of this story? I mean, is he saying that he withheld the information from Congress, but yet the New York Times learns about it and they say that it was so big and that President Trump was, not taking action on credible threats against American men and women. But Adam Schiff didn't think it was a big deal either. I wonder who told the New York Times.
Right. Now, that's definitely been speculated because I was listening to Senator Cotton this morning.
Yeah.
And he was talking about this, and he said, I find it odd that the Gang of Eight would have had this information for months, but it took the New York Times article for this to become a thing and for them to actually care. Mm-hmm. And we've listened to all the people that we kind of, we respect, your Pompeos, the DNI, the previous DNI, you've even had Haspel come out. Trump, all these people are saying like this is always going on. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be these they get intel and they have to verify it. Why would you muddy the waters and hand it to the president of the United States when he's having to handle so many things at once while being attacked by the media and Democrats during the election year? You would verify that kind of information and hand it to him. So the fact that they're making a thing out of something that they all know goes on, and they're trying to spin it in such a way to make Trump look a certain way. But they've done this the entire time. It's nothing new. It's just interesting to me that they're really pushing this, and they're going to try to obviously do hearings about it to kind of muddy up the situation. Say, hey, why would you vote for this Trump guy? He's being investigated still. But it's so old hat at this point that it's a mess. But I'm glad that people are covering this stuff because they would have already known. And we're definitely going to have a lot of this information about the Gang of Eight and how they have corrupted the process, or not all of them, through Spygate. Mm-hmm. Never forget about the Gang of Eight. They would have known all this information the entire time, all the way back to the quote-unquote DNC hack. They would have known about it. They did know about it. Mm-hmm. Pelosi even admitted that she got briefed on it and then lied to the camera about what was in it. So as that stuff comes out more and more, you have to remember how much they spun it. And I will always make sure that we find the clips of them lying and then showing the truth the day that it happens, because we need to continue to show the two-faced snake talk out of each side of your mouth that these people are. It does disgust us. I hate watching it, but we do need to cover it.
Yeah. So I wanted to say, the other day I told everybody that you could send super chats on Subscribestar, but they've changed it, and like that option is no longer here. And also, you can't find me on Subscribestar. If you search for Red Pill 78, I just don't show up. A couple of other people with Red Pill in their name show up, but I don't show up for some reason. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know why that is, but I just want to say thank you to anybody who has added me to their Subscribestar list. If you have supported me there, also all the people that have added me on Patreon, and of course anybody who has sent direct donations with PayPal or Cash App. We'll go over those in just a couple of minutes. But yeah, back to your point. The Gang of Eight, I mean, they had all this information for the longest time, and this is why Q keeps calling out Adam Schiff specifically for knowingly lying to the American public. I mean, he, more than anybody since Devin Nunes, has had every single iota of information, okay? He's known the truth this entire time, and every time he opens his mouth, it's just a barf of lies, okay? Every single word that comes out of his mouth is an absolute and total fiction. He has never told the American public the truth. I would suggest that anybody who can find a truthful statement made by Adam Schiff, let me know, and I'll send you $5. It's not possible. Everything that Adam Schiff ever talks about is a lie. And I think that we're going to see some strange behavior here coming up in the next couple of weeks, because this arrest of Ghislaine Maxwell could very, very easily tie back to so many people. It's, and many people mentioned Ed Buck here in the chat. I'm still waiting on some movement on that case. As far as I know, he's still in prison. This is going to be a very, very, very good summer. I'm so excited. It's a great day. Great day.
To keep up with everything going on in real time, we have to remind ourselves, because they're each big deals. With the SDNY being opened up now, what ball drops next? Are we going to get into the Nexium stuff? I mean, are we the laptop stuff?
Yeah.
What else am I trying to think of off the top of my head? The
Clinton Foundation.
The Clinton Foundation, Ukraine. All these things were kind of flooding through there. That was such a bottleneck situation. Mm-hmm. So having this change, and I like that this person's playing ball, the acting attorney, because we were kind of concerned that we would have to wait a little bit longer for the person that was chosen to get in and be voted on, and they would cause such a mess, because even Graham, he's a wacky inflatable arm flailing tube man when it comes to making decisions, he said that he was going to want to talk to Schumer and everybody involved in New York about it, which why would you want to? So having all these cases going on, we're going to have to do our best. And I say this not just to you, Rip, but I'll say to everybody listening. We're going to have to do our best to make sure that we are paying attention to all these things going on, because we have like all this talk about Maxwell. Does anybody, how many people are missing on the Section 230 stuff? Mm-hmm. That's huge. That's a very huge deal, because that's one step in the direction, because we keep talking about how they're deplatforming and attacking. They went after our buddy, quite frankly, that I'm sure everybody's aware of now. They're going after others, even people that we don't necessarily connect with. It's still not right. It's not right to take them down. So we're definitely going to have to make sure that we step up. But I do believe that something has got to give. And I think that we might be a little bit more protected than, we're worried about when it comes to the next few months, I think.
I see many people saying that Devin Nunes' wife is not Molly Hemingway, but he said it on Parler. Was I looking at was I looking at the wrong account? Hold on, you guys. Thanks for keeping me honest on there. Yeah, I don't know.
The chat will do that, man, definitely. And Colonel Flom out in the chat said they went after Frank. Yes, just if you weren't aware, anybody else, the live when he was last week or something like that, he was live on air, and they took him down off of YouTube in real time with saying he was doing harmful content and inciting violence. But anybody that was listening to it, he wasn't doing it. Frank doesn't do that. So that was the first that we've heard where they took down somebody during a stream. So if they're targeting people in that direction, then it's no holds barred, especially if they're just blatantly, just saying you did it, and then he appealed, and within 10 minutes they said, nope, we still see it. That's just an attack, really. So that's why we're all kind of discussing other platforms, making sure we're good. Yes, I am hearing all the mess about what Parler's doing and how they want all your private information, and they're going to be. I see all these things. I still want to dig into it, but it's good to at least have quick options. But we're still going to use the main ones. Red Pill, myself, a lot of the people that that we're connected with, we're still going to be using mainly the stuff that we're on. But it's good to have backups at the very least to verify and keep the wheel going, right?
Absolutely. These original social media platforms, the ones that are the biggest and the worst for censorship, this is quite literally the battleground that we all need to be on, and we need to be active there. And this is where President Trump is. I want to be where the president is. I want to go where he is broadcasting his message the loudest. And I also want to be where we're going to have the opportunity to get as many new eyeballs on this information as possible. Last I checked, we had like 7,400 people here. We got 7,500 people here now. 7682. All right. I wonder how many people out there are, okay, Mark Hemingway. All right, I'm sorry for saying that, guys. I could have sworn I saw Devin Nunes posting that on Parler, and I'm actually looking for it to see if I can figure out where I went wrong. Also, here is my link to my Parler profile. So there you go. If you guys want to follow me on Parler, go ahead and follow me there. But we need to be where the battleground is. We need to be active in the fight against censorship. And if we only go post on Parler, we're just going to be sitting in our own echo chamber. And we're not going to have the opportunity to reach all these new people. Now, of course, there are gag leftist accounts on Parler, but they're going there to poke fun and have a laugh at our expense. They're not there to learn any information. So I think it's unlikely that those people would end up, listening to this information and maybe changing their mind.
Well, I mean, just for everybody to hear out here, regardless of whether knock on wood, this channel has more issues, or our Twitter accounts or anything goes down, we're still going to keep doing what we do, more than likely at the exact same times, and we will do our best to get the information out to you. So you can just assume that we're still working. You just might have to, do a little research to find where we are. And we're trying to set up things better for that here in the future. So you guys would assume what would be our go-tos. So, but regardless, just, you're safe to know that we are always going to be working and doing what we do. Yeah.
Never going to quit. Always going to be at it. And I'm still going through Devin Nunes' post so I can find that.
You're so upset that you said the wrong thing on air.
I need to know, Oh, right. Hey, Dirty Truth is on here too. I got to follow him. All right. Well, let me do a couple of quick thank yous. Let's say thank you for people who have sent cash apps and super chats.
Well, before you do, thank you to everybody who hit me up on PayPal. If I'm reading all mine and he's reading all his, then it would be a long part of the show. But I just want to thank everybody who hit me up on PayPal. I appreciate it.
Sure. So yeah, I got a couple today. One from Felix. Thank you very much. Also, Larry and Ashley. Those were actually from yesterday. And then Paula. She says, join the local RNC. Ooh, good for you. We need people active at the local level. Charles, thank you. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Kyle. Kyle says, thanks for the great content. I appreciate you. Sarah says, job well done. And Becky says, what did Q say about the 10 weeks, which starts 7-5? It actually ends 7-5. We're technically in week 9 right now, aren't we?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, that's yeah. Next week would be kind of the eyes on.
So July 4th is when the 10th week starts, isn't it?
Yeah, it would technically be next week.
All right. So Real Life Health, Truth, and Knowledge says, yes, he did say it was his wife. He must have just been playing around or something like that. I mean, because clearly Molly Hemingway and Devin Nunes have a good relationship. She's from the Federalist, and I know she's written plenty of articles about it. But Vote Justin Out says his wife's name is Elizabeth Nunes. So he must have been playing around. Must have just been a joke. And then I need to say thank you to Judith. She's, well, I don't want to dox your name there, Judith, but, Lauren Boebert, a Republican in Colorado, won her primary challenge yesterday. She was running against a long-term Republican incumbent who had actually been promoted by President Trump. Now, Lauren came to prominence because she stood up to, what's his name? That scarecrow-looking guy from Texas. Beto O'Rourke. He said, yes, we're going to take
looking guy.
We're gonna take them all. We're gonna take all your weapons. And so she showed up at a rally and she said, you're not gonna take anything from me. She's got a restaurant called Shooters, I think, and she keeps a sidearm on her hip at all times. And she's also a part of our movement, you guys. So very cool. If you live in Colorado and you can vote for Lauren, I encourage you to do so. I'm gonna see if we can't get Lauren here on the show. Also, we have a donation today from Daro. He says, hi, Red Pill. Here's a link to a CDC article refuting the efficacy of masks and hand hygiene. Great way to wake up your friends. Daro, if you could send that to me by email, I can't actually pull anything out of the links. I can't pull any information out of the messages that you guys send on the PayPal donations. Thank you for that, buddy. And then also from Steven, he says, Wonder how many rhinos, how many rhino PEDOs will be exposed. I bet there's going to be quite a few that are going to be exposed. Yesterday, Alice, thank you for that. Yesterday, Teresa. Yesterday, 2 days ago, Robert. And then William, he says, ready for another Muffin Gate. Hang in there, Red. Appreciate you there, buddy. So yeah, thank you directly to anybody who has donated to the show. I appreciate you all. And looks like now all of a sudden they're popping more in there. Lori said, blessings, Red Pill, and protection over you sincerely. And then she gave her screen name. I don't want to dox you. I said your first name first. Also to Joyce and Robert from 2 days ago. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. You guys, to be quite honest with you, I mean, this is like the best day I've had in such a long time. I feel like we've gone through just so many months and months of gut kicks. Just constantly, we're on the floor, we're getting walked over, our rights are being trampled. We're watching people that we have been praying and hoping for years would finally get the justice they deserve. And now we start to see a glimmer of it. I remember when Jeffrey was arrested last year and how excited I was at that time, how much hope I had for the future, knowing that he was going to get what was coming to him, knowing that his co-conspirators were going to be coming next. And then I remember driving in the car to an amusement park, listening to the radio, and I heard the news broadcast that he had been found in his cell, Arkancided. And I just about stopped the car. I couldn't believe it. I thought at the time, what an incredible level of incompetence, but I had been hoping and praying for a long time that it was not going to end up that way. So many people predicted it. It's what happened. And now there's nothing we can do about it. We have a second chance right here with Ghislaine. This is our do-over because she was intricately involved with every aspect of his operation. She was by his side for so many years. Even if they weren't dating, she was by his side. If you haven't read the book Filthy Rich, which details Virginia Giuffre and all of the girls from that era down there in Palm Beach, that whole thing when he was prosecuted for ridiculously reduced charges and he had work release and he could go out for basically 18 hours a day and do whatever he wanted. Read that book because it tells you just how involved Ghislaine was. I'm so excited. It was an echo by Devin. Devin echoed it. That makes so much sense. I guess I'm a boomer on Parler, guys. I don't know how to use Parler yet.
No, man, it's all good. But I agree with you. I watched part of that documentary from Netflix about it. It just was just kind of sad to a point, just hearing these stories. But this is what's happening now is what's being covered in that. I suggest watching it. I'm not endorsing Netflix by any means, but it is very relevant because they're showing like actual footage of when they're questioning these young, we'll just say children, of what happened to them, all this stuff. It lines up and all that. Now it's still very kind of curious on why Netflix were to cover this, but I do know that they tried to make sure to tie it to Trump as much as they could. At least
they totally did.
In the first episode, they would be like, oh, and Epstein was tied to high-profile people, and they would just flash Trump on the screen. And it's like, yeah, of course. So maybe that's them trying to get ahead of things because they probably knew that some of this was coming down the pike. But no, I agree with you. We are in that moment. We are in this situation that we should be excited. You need to feed off this energy, support each other, because we know what happens. Like, remember back when, like, our favorite Anon would drop some just like very like damning posts and we'd be very excited. The energy was there. And then a few days would pass or we wouldn't get a post for a week. And then it goes back to the nothing's happening feeling. I want people to always take these moments, like when we have these victories and talk and take this energy and be like, this can happen again. And it can happen at any moment. I mean, did anybody wake up this morning assuming that we would have Ghislaine Maxwell in handcuffs?
No.
No. It happened and it happened out of nowhere and then boom, we were off to the races. So remember that we're going to have these moments. So if we do have a lag in time or things don't look right and it gets frustrating and all that stuff and you start seeing whether it's actual patriots or shills trying to say nothing's happening. Remember this moment and remember how it can come back.
Absolutely.
And at any moment, and that's why we fight. We wait. We're at the ready. That's part of it, is that we wait for the time to make these things known, and then we do what we do best. So I'm just happy for everybody. I know a lot of people needed this win. I'm still riding off the high of Sunday, hanging out with Mark Taylor.
Heck yeah.
Right. It's those kind of moments are what we all need. You know, we've been, and I'm not trying to say everybody's like this, like we're all like drones, but you know, we have been adapted to the situation of the dopamine internet fix, not just about the likes and the retweets and how big the followers you get and all that stuff, but just in general, you're looking for those, you know, you end up getting dependent on these things to get, you know, your excitement in and all that stuff. And that's why we always remind people, take your breaks, take your time, enjoy life.
Yep.
You know, I have a deal with Miss Methods. You know, I will always, you know, she doesn't even have to bring up at all. She really doesn't have to anyways. If there's a book she wants to read, order it, but she better read it. Not because I'm trying to be a cheapskate. I support her reading books. You know, take your time, do something different than getting lost in a mindless YouTube hole that I tend to do more often than I should. Like I don't gain anything from a couple hours of just suggested things, watching stuff. It just doesn't, but you know, to each his own, but we want to make sure that you're finding, you know, your balance, even in the times that it feels like we're down, you know, down in the dumps a little bit when it comes to situations happening or not. This is a roller coaster and we're all in it together. And just know that you're supported, you're loved regardless. We're going to have these victories and we're going to have these valleys as well, but we're all doing this together.
Now, Steven on the super chat he sent on PayPal, he said, "Thank you. We needed this. Red Pill and Methods, the worldwide digital soldiers salute you." Yeah, this was definitely something that all of us needed. This is a big deal. Now, Kat Wheeler in the chat asked, "Why only those years?" I think it's because they have to start somewhere. They have to begin with kind of a foundation. Also, if they're only focusing on those years, I think maybe it might give co-conspirators at later dates the false illusion that they're safe, that they're not going to get dragged into this. Well, they're only looking from 94 to 97. I didn't fly on that plane until, 2002 or something like that. But it doesn't mean they're not going to bring charges later. Now, also Daniel Gamache said 1911 45 ACP, that is a quality sidearm. I've got one of those myself. Beautiful piece of American history right there.
Yeah, real quick, Jesus Take the Wheel in the chat brought this up. I had forgotten about it because we were all excited. You know, we just had, what was it, yesterday, that random Jeffrey Epstein statue found. Did you see that?
What?
Yeah. I've got an article here. I'll drop it in the chat so you have it, Red Pill. But yeah, there was reports about it. Now, if it gotten debunked since then, I just saw the headline. I was like, that's odd. And then I moved forward. But yeah, they had a random Epstein statue show up, yesterday, and then this happens.
That's beautiful.
While everybody is ripping down statues. So I don't know. Some things we can't solve for you, but there is that out there. I'll drop this article. If you guys debunk it, let me know. I'm not trying to, say something crazy like Nunes is married to Hemingway, but they have this out there and they have reports.
Mm-hmm. Now, Gail, was it Gail Glisson? Gail Glisson in the chat said that Dave Hodges thinks the Democrats are going to win, is all lost. All due respect to Dave Hodges, I disagree. Dave is just like everybody else here in the movement. I mean, he's interpreting information that comes his way. If he thinks the Democrats are going to win, that's his opinion. I personally don't think the Democrats are going to win. I don't think everything is lost, and I will never say never until we get to that point, and then I got to eat crow. I see the way this country is going. I see the things that are happening. I see the tide shifting. Okay, I believe that we're going to be victorious. Now, here's a win. All right. When was the last time you heard anybody arguing against the Second Amendment, whether it's a politician or on the news? Ownership of handguns, of weapons of any type, they're astronomical right now. Like June was the largest purchasing of handguns here in the United States ever. More people buying guns now than ever before. And that's because people look around and they see the unrest, they see what's happening, and they know that they need to protect themselves just in case something crazy happens. Okay, there's no way any politician is about to make an argument against the Second Amendment at this point. because they know that people are fully on board with it. It's a necessity. We must have them in order to protect ourselves and our property. And so that is a huge win right there. For years, people were saying they're coming for them. They're going to take them all away from us. But nobody's saying that right now. Okay? Nobody's saying that at all. I think that's a huge win. And I'm going to continue to call out these wins as they, arrive, fall at our plates. Gunnar says, great point. Thank you very much, Gunnar. I appreciate that. Always nice to be recognized. So I mean, that's a big deal. Dorlin, thank you very much, Dorlin. I appreciate that on PayPal. And, I mean, just keep looking, guys. I mean, don't listen to people on the internet who say that everything is over and that we're, it's in the bag. The Democrats have already won. I mean, don't listen to that. I don't know what anybody else's motivations are, okay? Maybe they truly believe it. Maybe they just want you to believe it so that the Dems will win. But remember how much psychological, manipulation is taking place on every different type of media that we might be consuming. It is up to them to convince us that all is lost. Okay, don't allow them to mess with your minds. Look at what's happening and take an objective look. All right, look at all of this information in its totality. We have gained more as a country and as a people in the last 4 years than we have for the last century, probably. Okay, our rights have been slowly eroded. We were getting to the point where we were essentially going to be, part of this global order. President Trump has stepped in. He has really turned things around, and he has reinvigorated America, and he has made it acceptable to be a patriot and to have the faith and love in your country that our forefathers had many, many years ago. We have to continue that. Do not allow them to play mind games with you and to convince you that it's hopeless. Because if you believe that it's hopeless, then you are far less likely to do anything about it. We must be active here, active participants in our republic. If we just choose to stay home, sit on the couch, consume Netflix, then everything is lost. Okay, they're going to win. But I'm not going to let that happen. I sure hope you guys aren't going to let that happen. I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud of the strides that our country has taken since President Trump came into office. And I am going to help continue to make things better for us here in this country. And one of the major things that I'm going to do is make sure that I get out in November, vote for President Trump, and vote for the candidates that I truly believe are going to advance our mission, advance our platform, advance our morals and our goals, all of it. We have to make sure that we take part in that. And I think one of the things that we can all do is continue to spread this information, share it with people, wake other people up so that they too can understand how important it is that we make sure President Trump is reelected in November.
All right, well said, man. And just to add to that, people can have their own opinions, and I'll get it sent to me, every once in a while when insert name here sends me, is saying this, and it might be a doom and gloom thing or whatever. That's fine. That's their opinion, and that's why we need to. We always discuss this, Rip Bill, behind the scenes about how to handle whatever platforms we've created, and what gets in my mind is I don't want to see a situation to where just in general this movement creates its own idols. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that we are, and I'm not making accusations, I'm not going to use examples, but we have this situation to where if I give an opinion and you don't agree with it out there, and it goes against what you see and you have different evidence, all that stuff, then you probably are more right than I am. It's an opinion. We give examples. Everybody can have differences of ones, but there's been people trying to pull me into conversations or debates. Well, you're saying this methods, but insert name here is saying that, and they're trying to get my take on it. And I'm not about to jump in a thread debate argument about certain things. So you have your right to your own opinion. My suggestion to people is to research enough, take anything anybody says with a grain of salt, especially when there's no evidence with it, and develop to where you have an educated opinion about it yourself. and then you have your own opinion to be, leaded with, instead of just saying, oh, so and so said this, so it must be fine. I had somebody tag me earlier and say I didn't know if the Maxwell information was true because it was out of NBC first. But since Methods tweeted it out, I can, or along the lines of I can trust it. And it's like, that's not really how it should be. I do the best I can, but what if that wasn't true? Because that's what came out first. And I did some research and saw a few other of the left-wing people covering it. And in my head, I was like, they wouldn't be doing this unless it's true, because they wanted to get in front of the story. So I put it out there, and then they were covering it on Fox News. You have other people talking about it. But what if it ended up not being true? I would have had egg on my face.
Sure.
Right. And so I think the best thing for all of us to do is just really, work at your best to develop your own opinion, educate yourself. And then all of us that are doing channels like this are just here to help you and hang out with you the best we can.
Totally. And I saw somebody in the chat saying we don't participate in cancel culture. Absolutely not. And that's why, I feel like I kind of preach that to you guys. When people get into these flame wars online, they just say you're wrong. They don't present any evidence. They don't present their own opinion or their own platform. I mean, it's just feeding into that, that cancel culture that so many people have been brainwashed into taking part of. Yesterday, in my video at 6, I talked about Ed Henry getting Me Too'd. I said specifically, it's really distressing to me that there was no report made to police. All right, there was no due process. It was just a private investigation, and they decided to let him go. I don't know if Ed did anything wrong. In today's world, unfortunately, you can get accused of doing something, and then there's no court of opinion. It's all in the court of public opinion. There's no legal recourse that you have. So I don't know what happened to Ed. I think it's terrible. And I saw many people in the comments saying Ed Henry's an ever-Trumper, good riddance. I don't think that's right. I think that. And again, this is my opinion, so I'm okay to have it. I'm going to tell you why, though. If I tell you I feel a certain way, I feel obligated to explain myself. And this is the kind of dialogue that I'm always talking about. I want to be able to have with people. I don't want to just shove my opinions down your throat and tell you that you have to agree with me and, this is the only way, it's the right way. No matter how right I feel I am, I also feel that there are, different perspectives that could also be equally as right. It's just my take on it. Maybe it's a hot take sometimes. Maybe, everybody doesn't agree with it, but whatever. That's fine. This is my show. This is Method's show here. And, so we're going to present our opinion and our stance on things. Ed Henry, I think that anybody who's in that position deserves to have a fair and impartial investigation. If he broke a law, I think that it should have been done by the police. And I certainly hope that it doesn't color the rest of his career. I hope he's going to be able to go on and have another career. If Ed doesn't like Trump, then he has the ability to say it. He was more of a pundit than a reporter. They hired him, I believe, to give his opinion. As unfortunate as it is that Fox News has kind of turned on the president with a number of anchors, unfortunately, in the business that they're in, they're doing opinion shows and stuff. Those reporters have the right to go ahead and do that. What's sad about it, really, really sad, is that basically all of the media has turned down the president when, in fact, they're not being honest about the job that he's done. And there are still people, even people who watch the show, who will hear the mainstream media, hear what they're saying, and they will subliminally accept that as being part of the truth. Somebody the other day sent me another poll that Joe Biden was ahead. Stop listening to polls. Do you think the president listens to polls, or do you think the president gets out and meets people and sees what the general public thinks about him? That's why it's so important for us to hold these rallies. That's why Joe Biden doesn't hold rallies. Joe Biden doesn't get out into the public. Joe Biden walks in front of a camera and he can't fart and chew gum at the same time. Okay? It's impossible. So for us here on my show, in my chat, it's important for me that we have a civil conversation and that we're able to present our positions. Because if you're just screaming in somebody's face and telling them that they're wrong, then you're no better than the people on the left. Everyone is free to do what they want. If that's how you want to behave, that's up to you. I hold myself to a higher standard, and I would hope that we could all be at somewhat of the same level to be able to talk about our differences, to be able to talk about the way we see the world and how we perceive it, and perhaps by doing so, we can get along better as people here in the world.
I totally agree with you. I think it's well said. And just real quick, I know we're finishing up here, so people are heading for the door. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. It's been great. Best numbers for Occam's Razor so far.
I think so.
So thank you guys once again for sharing, doing all this. Click that like button on the way out the door. 2 things I want to cover real quick. Do you want to announce your Friday, Saturday, and then we'll announce Sunday? We didn't get a chance to cover it on Tuesday. Who are you having on Friday, Saturday?
Let me take a look. Actually, I need to say thanks to Emily. She just said, have a great day. And then also thanks to Andrew, and thank you to Donna. Donna said, God is beautiful. And let's see. I don't understand what your comment is for, Andrew, but that's okay. We'll talk after the show. Let me see. Who am I having on this weekend? First of all, tomorrow it's going to be Aaron Moriarty from his channel. We're going to be talking about teleportation, actual scientific evidence of teleportation. And then on Saturday, Brooks Agnew, author and radio show host, we're going to be talking about his book, Charm of Favor. And he's written a lot more books. So we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff. It's going to be politics. It's going to be scandals. It's going to be a great show, great time. And then on Sunday, who do we have for Sunday?
We're going to have on the Sharp Edge and the Speaker 2018, friends of the channel.
That's right.
They run Hive Mind. It's been a long time coming for them to come hang out. It's one of the shows where we like to highlight other channels.
Yep.
Help give them a platform to talk about what they're doing, what they're working on. Give you something else for you to have to decide on what to watch when you're hopping through things. But no, I'm very excited. They're great, especially with Speaker being on the other side of the planet. We get a different take on things going on, so it's going to be cool. The other thing I want to touch real quick, just because the 412 show, buddy of the channel, he's been in the chat. Good to see you here, man. He's having his Taking It Back show that he's been doing with Brendan Dilley and Quite Frankly. So I'm going to drop that link in the chat. They will be starting here in an hour. Make sure you guys catch it. They do it every Thursday, and it's definitely a great show.
Yeah. Dazman says, except cancel Marxism. Well, here's the thing. I would hope that, rather than just canceling Marxism and making it illegal, I would hope that we would be able to present adequate arguments as to why Marxism is not a viable option for anybody, and that you're a moron if you're a Marxist. Okay, guys, we are at the end of the program. Thank you so much to everybody who was hanging out with us today. Don't forget to like it, share it on your way out. Very important conversation. We'll be back at 6 p.m. for another edition of Red Pill News. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to the mods for keeping it comfy. And thank you to everybody who did support the channel today. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.
Much love.